Hello, this is Tom here and welcome to another repair video. In this video, we are looking at this very nice looking iPhone XS. It is a nice golden color. Now, the issue that we're having with this phone is that there is a weird issue with the Digitizer. Now, I was just showing what I'm talking about here. Basic tests. If you go on this side, oh, it works. It's working. Oh, the Digitizer is working. Am I sure? Is it all right? But if you get right here, there is nothing, no reaction at all. Now that's puzzling. Like, well, what's wrong with that? Why would one part of the Digitizer not be working while the rest does? Well, let's give it a bit of an examination to see what's going on here. Do we see any dents? It's a little dirty on the bottom, but I don't see any damage in the normal sense of it. So I'm going to guess this phone was in a cell phone case, and likely they dropped it very hard on one particular corner. I'm going to bet because the ribbon cable for the phone is along here, it got hit really hard on the bottom left. That's the only thing I can think of, was it must have been hit really hard on that bottom left there, and it was just enough to knock some pins from being completely sat properly with the ribbon cable connecting to the screen. That's some bad luck right there. So what do we got to do? That's a screen replacement. That's really all you can do. I'm going to clean out the screws right here, and it's going to be a pretty quick one. Screen replacements are a pretty straightforward thing to do for an iPhone. I'm going to toss this on my heat pad at about 90 degrees Celsius. And it'll be on there for, I don't know, about 3 minutes, I think. Alright, I forgot to take the penelope screws out of the bottom. It's usually a really good idea to take those out first before putting it on the heat mat, just because this wastes time. So we got those out. It's still nice and toasty, it's just you're losing heat. I'll get myself a suction cup and we can get this out. Now, any of the tools, the supplies, etc. that I'm using in this video and my other videos on my YouTube channel, I do have Amazon affiliate links in the video description, so if you need anything or whatever else, there's links down there for you there. Now, I'm seeing a little bit of movement right now, but I'm also seeing movement in the screen. Okay, it's coming up now. This feels like an aftermarket screen, just how it's splitting there. That's not uncommon for an aftermarket screen. Okay, you notice I just got it up a little bit, just enough. These screens aren't prone to breaking like the Samsung screens. They're a fair bit more delicate, as well as like the iPhone 12 and up. They're a little bit more delicate, especially up here. You gotta be super careful. Good old X series of phones. They were great. Their design was very nice. The iPhone 11 series were the last ones to have this same design, where the frame, like the frame is kind of like, what do you call it, circular. I'm going to switch over to a Y000, and we're going to get this one out. Usually there is one screw in there that's a Phillips. You see this, there's a PH000 right here, so we got to get that one out. It's usually a lot longer than the other ones too. Put them to the side in a nice order. I said that I felt it might be that this was an aftermarket screen, but I don't currently see any evidence to point in that direction, aside from the frame splitting rather easily. Okay, my screws, you can see that there's one of different size compared to the other one. This one wouldn't be so much of a problem, but sometimes they've got a lot of screws that are all different sizes, so it's a good idea to lay them out in a pattern that is recognizable for how they came out of the device. Now, first thing you're going to do, disconnect the battery. Don't want to damage anything in here while you're at it, so yeah, let's do that. And for me this works well, but a lot of people do suggest that you use a pry tool to get the cables out for the screen, just because you can sometimes damage stuff. But I've never experienced that before, and I find that using a pair of tweezers just on a corner, generally speaking, produces the best results, just because you've got a fair amount more control. There we go. And there's one more. I think it's this one right here. It's been a little time since I've worked on an XS. You got always a little bit of adhesive sticking that down. That's that. I've got a replacement screen right here. Always provide a new seal. I'm just so happy about that. Yes, this is an aftermarket, but the iPhone X, and really most of that series in general, those screens were pretty darn good. So I'm always happy to use an aftermarket screen for most iPhones in general. For the most part, for the X series, it's great. They're not so good for like the iPhone, I'd say the 12 and up. So we got that plugged in. Get that plugged in for the battery. Let's turn it on and test. Let's see if the problem has been resolved. Is the Digitizer working properly now? I still have my heating pad on. Let's turn that off. Okay, so let's start from the right. There is a small amount of damage to the screen that I am seeing. And I don't have another screen. I gotta let the customer know and see if they're fine with that, because I can't do a darn thing about that. Tiny, tiny, tiny mark on that screen. I only have this one screen, so it is what it is. But, yes, all the way to the edge, the Digitizer is functioning fine, showing clearly that there was some physical damage done to this screen causing the problem. Okay, customer said go for it. I knocked the price down by a few dollars. There, we're good with that. I just got to get this separated because I do need to transfer still the earpiece over. And take these off as well, take the plastic off, and we can finally get that earpiece over. It can be sometimes a little bit troublesome to get it across. Where's the screen? Where'd it go? There it is. There's another thing we got to do is transfer over the information. Oh, it's called True Tone. Yeah, True Tone with, I think even the iPhone 11 looks a little bit pink on the aftermarket screens. So I've taken out the 3 screws that hold this earpiece in place. And there is also a little bit of adhesive that is on the cable connecting the earpiece as well. Just like that, you can see it. Just a tiny little piece. Underneath, you've got this little bit right here. And I find the easiest way, somebody in the comments a while ago recommended this just to prevent any damage to these parts, is to heat up the earpiece area on the back of the screen, and that really helps. It really does. It helps get it up and less likely to damage things. So, just in the back of the screen. Oh, whoa. This is just a very basic, off-the-box heat gun. It's not one that can really control the heat. You can control the speed, and that's it. It's hot to the touch like usual. Same thing as with the screen, just hot to the touch. So I'm going in here with my tweezers, and I'm going to lightly lift up underneath this sensor right here. There we go. That one came out really easily. And then the speaker right here. So I don't know what this sensor is. I'm pretty sure both are related to Face ID or maybe spatial sensors. There we go. Oh, it came out so easily. Next, let's transfer over the information for True Tone. But yeah, this is a Keon Lee device, and Keon Lee sells them as well. They're usually around $130. XS, it needs to be on this one. The smaller of the two. Just like that, you see information is populated in. Let's give it a read. Doesn't take very long. Now let's switch it over. If you lose connection, you got to do it again. Now you hit right, the bottom button. This takes a little longer. The nice thing about the iPhone X series of phones is they don't have to deal with the message that says this is an unknown screen. That happens with the 11 series and newer. Okay, it's been programmed. Let's get this packet of sensors in place. I always like to put the long sensor in first, and then this little guy kind of follows. It should be flat with it. Now you put this over top, and let's get those screws in. I don't like to screw them all down flat right away. You don't tighten them up until after you've got all 3 screws more or less in. I just give it a couple of turns and then move on, just because sometimes they don't fit like 100% perfectly. They don't always line up perfectly. So I found the best way to go about this, especially for this tiny screw. Just have them in loose. then you can tighten down the tiny screw first and then go through them, just like that. Now you got the old seal you got to take out, and you want to put a new one in. So I've got this device as well. I've also got a link to it in the video description. And you want to just pull it up. All right, we got the seal out. Let's move on to just giving a bit of a clean. Sometimes I like to use a brush to clean it out first, but it's already pretty clean in there. So just take a Q-tip with a bit of alcohol on the end. This is 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. I do have a link in the video description for a bottle that I found. It's not the exact type that I use, but that's about all I could find on Amazon. And really, all that matters is that it's 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. You use that instead just because you're working with electronics. And if you work with something that's less than 91%, you risk damaging the phone because there's too much alcohol. Like 70%, you shouldn't be using. That cleaned up pretty darn nice. These can be a little bit fiddly sometimes. I always fold this up first and then I peel this back. This one I can tell is only 2 layers. The ones that I'm used to are usually 3 layers. They're a lot easier to work with. This definitely is not going to be as fun to work with. Too flexible and they don't stick. It doesn't always stick properly. After I got it in, just running over it with my spudger here, making sure that it's really well tamped down. There we go. Now something I like to do, in this case, like I'm mentioning this mostly just because I have a feeling this is going to be a bit of a pain to get up properly, is you pull up on the edge there, and sometimes it pulls the seal back up with it. You can just run along here and just pull as you go, and it somewhat helps prevent the seal from pulling up with this protective backing. Like this corner right here, it's doing it a little bit. Here we go. There. Came out pretty clean. Came up a little bit right here. We already tested the screen. We found it to be working properly. So let's get this all installed back together. Just keeping in mind, right now the battery is disconnected. There we go. Everything's plugged back in. I like to do another test, just in case. Still working great. Nice. Okay, so all we got left to do now is to go and put those screws and that shield back in place. There we go. That's the only shield. With the iPhone X, it has 2 shields, and the XR, I think it has 3 shields. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 shields. And I think the XS Max, it just has 1 shield as well, very similar to the XS. So what I like to do is I line up the top first, just get that aligned in place, and just push it into place and you'll be good to go. Now at this point, you just rub it down very well. Make sure that's got a nice solid connection all the way around. Let's toss those pentalobe screws back in. Just more or less finger tight for those creatures. And that's it. That's done. So that worked out pretty darn smooth. Look at that phone. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm going to give it a little bit of a cleaning, I think, just with a microfiber cloth and maybe a little bit of spray, because I see some fingerprints, but it looks very good, doesn't it? Yeah. So, if you guys like the video, please do leave a like, and if you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe. We'll see you guys all in another video. Bye.